Hey everybody, it's been a while. We're on the bench trying to play catch up here. We're working on a timber pilot, and it just kind of popped into my head. What if you don't have the bandsaw? And how do you cut your kerf? Well, you can cut it with a handsaw. And I wanted to go through and explain different saws and the technique that I use for getting a straight cut all the way down. The concept is the same, whether you're using an American styled saw, Western styled saw that cuts on the push stroke, or a Japanese styled saw that cuts on the pull stroke. Let's see where we're at with our frame. I think we're okay. Yeah, okay, you got that. So, these are very useful in your tool arsenal. And I have nothing against American saws. I love them. I collect them. I love using a handsaw whenever possible. The hand tools, like I've always said, it just brings you closer to your work. You have to, with the American saws, you have to watch your teeth per inch. The more teeth per inch, the less likely you're going to be able to cut, because you have to remember now, you're not cross-cutting and you're not ripping. In a sense, you're ripping, but you're actually cutting the top of the grain, which is a really difficult cut. So don't get frustrated. I hope this will help you, but being aware of your saws is first on the list. What direction your teeth cut, and that really will help you. I have a little back saw which has tiny, teeny Einske teeth, which is helpful in getting that first kerf. You want to lay out, your kerf. In this case, we're doing a cross wedge. So, but anyway, you mark that, and you want to really be as exact as you can, half and half. I like to have the axe on, so I can sort of see how well I did on my hang and orient the kerf to where the axe is sitting and still have it half and half. It's sort of a juggling match between that. But I generally use a saw like this, and X-Acto makes one too. Now you're not going to use this for the whole cut. These don't have any set, which means the teeth are done like this, so they cut. These are in line, so what's going to happen as you get down in the cut, it's going to just pull. It's going to be metal on wood, and the friction will be too great to get the saw through. But you just want to get enough so that your saw, whichever one you're using, will follow that line. Now, when I'm doing that, what I'd like to do is I'll score a little bit this way, and I'll score a little bit this way. These are on the push stroke. These are Western styled saws, and then I will gradually, I've already got some kerf in here, but then I will gradually watch this triangle get more obtuse and more obtuse until those lines meet up, and then maybe go down a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch into the wood. Here's another saw that I like to use as well. This is sort of a hybrid saw. This is a Stanley, and I really like these as well. These sort of have a Japanese style tooth on it. If you look at these smaller ones, not this. This is like a Western style saw, but in reverse. The teeth are pointing the wrong direction to be a Western style saw. But if you notice these teeth, they're really super similar. But again, they're arranged. This is Western, this is cutting on the push, and this is cutting on the pull. I like both. I tend to be a little more accurate when I have like some trim that I'm working with. I kind of opt for the Japanese saws, but it's whatever you have. You know, you don't have to go run out and buy a whole bunch of saws. You can get eBay, you can get them on Amazon. I got this one on Amazon. I think it was like 20 bucks or so. Really useful because it's got the cross-cut blade and the ripping blade on it all in one. But it would be helpful to have a small curved saw to get your initial, you know, scribe. Basically, it's a scribed line to help. Then I'll have a pencil line coming down this way, and either a pencil line or you can just follow this apex where these two sides come together. But anyway, that's kind of the scenario for that. We're going to take this down somewhere, probably somewhere in here. I like to go a little bit deeper. I don't think a third is quite deep enough. But that's kind of where we're at. Now, I use a combination of saws. I like to start with a thin kerf and get going in the right direction, and then gradually go up to the larger kerf. This you can use to maybe go down 1/4 of an inch, but again, the small teeth and the small kerf of the saw is going to get bogged down in the wood eventually. So I really have enjoyed, I've really enjoyed this saw. And it's best to either keep these in a saw pocket, a saw scabbard, or in a loose scabbard. This comes with a scabbard, a plastic scabbard. It'll stay sharp for a lot longer if it's in a scabbard. Now the beauty about these is you can replace the full blade if it gets dull. The same with this. This is just held with friction by this spine right here, and there's a hook right here that hooks into the saw, and then it just pops into there, and you just whack it, and it comes out, and you just take your blade out and put your new blade in. They're not cheap blades. They're about 20 bucks per blade, so it's just you know, keep your blade sharp, and you don't have as many problems. The Western style saws, you pretty much have to get some files and sharpen. So then that's a whole new thing that you have to learn to sharpen. So, you know, to keep them sharp. But anyway, so I'm on my ripping teeth, and basically I'm going to cut this line in half. I'm not going to try to saw it like this because why? Same with the bandsaw. If you don't have a mirror back here, you're cutting blind. And cutting blind, why would you want to cut blind if you don't have to? Because you can't monitor how this is running. So what I do is I hold it as vertically as I can to come down this line and stay straight in my top. And you'll be able to feel how the wood's pulling. If you're too this way, it'll grab. If you're too this way, it'll grab. So you got to kind of find that right angle. And we're basically, that's kind of how we're cutting right now. Also, just another little tip. I tend to clamp. I do a double clamp in the vise. If you can see that DeWalt clamp down there, I've got it clamped to the vise so it keeps my handle from wobbling around. And that's very, very helpful. So we've got we're pretty much where we want to be here, and we're where we want to be here. And we've got that. Now, this is going to become a guide for this side. So now I can either turn this around, which I don't think I need to. I think I'm just going to go to the other side and do it. And we'll repeat the same thing. Now, you will get the more you do this, you'll get a feel for it, and you can do it all from the same side. But starting out, this is what I recommend, just to be precise. So let's see where we're at. Yeah, we're good. So now we'll take this and we'll mark it. So we're a little bit off, but it's not too bad. You're not going to see anything that's inside of the eye. You just want to make sure that everything is up here is symmetrical and even. so that your wedging doesn't look horrible. So now we're going to do the same thing, but now we have this over here to guide our saw. And a lot of light helps. And I should probably have my glasses on, but I don't. So you're going to start here. And you don't, with these Japanese saws, you can relax and just let the blade do the work. And as you get down, now you can start making that angle more acute because you've got this kerf guiding your blade. And starting out, you might want to check it and make sure you're going good. We are, but especially with as flappy as these blades are, you just want to guide this thing. You don't want to be pushing one way or the other. Try to keep it as straight as possible and let the saw do the work. So we're here. We come down a little bit more. Now, and then you get to the point where you can be horizontal and you've completed your cut. Okay. Now, what I like to do is enlarge the kerf slowly. So I'll grab my saw that has a bigger kerf, and these teeth are actually set quite a bit, so it's just going to widen this kerf. Now you have to remember too that when you're cutting on the push stroke, you're going to be pushing wood fibers this direction if I'm going this way, or this direction if I'm going this way. And as thin as this is, you want to come from this direction because sometimes you can splinter that baby. It's better to push your wood fibers into the kerf where you don't have a lot of meat, and that'll just save you a lot of headache. Same thing, we're just following that kerf. It's a lot easier now. And these saws are sharpenable, I guess. You have to get yourself a little feather file. So you don't have to trash these saws when they get it. Again, I'm not really guiding this thing. I'm just trying to stay in the kerf and go straight back, straight forward as best I can. And movement is the enemy of making axe handles. Movement in the vise, movement that you don't want, movement in this handle that you're trying to hold steady. Movement creates problems. And sometimes I'll get out another Western style, so I'll get out a big old Diston or something like that. Just depends. And there we have it. Now, there's one last thing that I like to do, and it's a good trick because not all the time, once, you can have your line and the top of your eye look as symmetrical and half as possible, but you get into your cut, and after you're done, you'll look at it and you go, those aren't the same. Well, this I did on a short, and it kind of blew up. I think we're at 3.1K looks or something like that. But it uses a saw, and really you could use any kind of flat, thin piece of metal, but I like a saw because it already has a handle on it. And basically what you do is take some self-adhesive sandpaper, put the teeth up, and use it as a saw, except now we're sanding the sides. If you only want to sand one side, which in this case, I need to take more off of this side, then you just pull one piece off. If you don't have self-adhesive sandpaper, again, the 3M77 self-adhesive, spray it on, put a normal piece of sandpaper on there, and you're good to go. I do like the holes because it lets the sawdust fall out better. So yeah, in this case, let's look at it. We're just, come on, focus now. Focus. Yeah, you can see we're just probably 1/8. Come on. We're 1/8 big on the left, maybe 1/16. So we're gonna fix that. And this also works. A lot of times I like to just make the kerf bigger. Once I get it even, then I'll put the sandpaper back on the other side, and we can just make the kerf bigger so that we can get a bigger wedge in there. And you're actually adjusting on a wedge a lot less, because I don't know if you've ever tried to make wedges smaller without proper equipment or without easier equipment. It's kind of a bummer. It's not fun. So we're going to take this guy off. We're going to saw this way. And you can also use the teeth, but you'd be deepening if you had a reason to be sanding and deepening at the same time. I don't know when that would ever really come into play. But you kind of have to start this gently, because you don't want to make your paper go off. And so now we are sanding the left side of our kerf. Let's see if I can get this going. It's kind of hard to hold, and you don't want to push down. Just let the sandpaper do its thing. You can twist to the left to take a little more off. See though? I wish you would focus, hey? There we go, focus. Still a little bit more, but you get the idea. So I'm gonna fix this up and then I'll pop that. And another little trick is once it opens up and you want to still keep sanding in one direction, just put a little pressure on it, squeeze them together. Not squeezing very hard because you'll bind up the sandpaper and you don't want to do that. I'm going to come around the other side. And we're back to sandpaper on both sides. See how it binds if you go too far? Okay, we're in great shape. Always try to think outside the box. So now we're going to make our cross wedge cut and we'll be back. Okay, this is kind of the same drill. This is where a really thin saw comes in handy, because for once, you're going to have a little vibration with your saw kerf already in there going the other way. And if I can find it, here it is. Oopsie. This is going to allow you to make your kerf square, and always take your time. You're not in a rush. because sometimes the pencil line will not tell you the truth. And if you get your little saw kerf wrong, take it out, sand it or cut it away with, just cut a 1/16 off, and you've got a fresh thing going. And basically, yeah, see, my line is a little bit out, so I'm actually taking my saw and comparing a straight line to the both of these and the other side. Because there's nothing worse than a cross wedge that is crooked. And I've made my share. So I've got, and you might not have to cut it. If you see you're going wrong right out of the gate and you've only made a little sawdust, you can probably correct it. Okay, see how this is called a gents saw, G-E-N-T-S, just like it sounds. That looks good, pretty good. Yeah, that looks good. Now the other thing too is you can always, if you have some adjustments to make, you can always do it as well with your sander saw. Okay, so now we're gonna jump right to our trusty old Japanese saw. We're gonna do the same thing, just trying to slow down the vibration of these curves. And now I'm just getting that saw in both sides. Okay, I'm just a touch off, but it's correctable. Okay. There we are. Okay. Now we're back to what I said originally. And since we've already said it, we'll come back with some new thoughts. A little big. And there you have it. Anyway, if you sat through all of this, I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully this was helpful. We are 3 subscribers away from 600 subscribers, and which I think is really, really cool. And we'll get into some wedges later, but I basically just wanted to go over these saws and their uses and how effective they can be when you don't have a bandsaw. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe if you have a chance. It really helps us. See you in the next bit.